I don't know why I have this up. There's no way I'm ever watching any part of this.
Joe Rogan Podcast, check it out. Joe Rogan Podcast, check it out.
Sort, meaning that it swaps out its genetic material like a flu virus does with other coronaviruses, and we could see a new punch. It could actually evade immune protection. We don't know that. So I think the challenge we have is just being honest with everybody. This is the guardrail. One side is it could go back to another Omicron-like experience, or that may be the last one. I hope for the last one being the mild one, but hope's not a strategy. So you got to look at what do we need to do to be prepared. And right now, everybody in this country wants to back away, back off, and say we're done, which I want to too. I feel that. But at the same time, I have to say, I don't know that we're done. Just like I said a year ago, I thought the darkest days were still ahead of us.
Now, when you say that, so Omicron is far more contagious than Delta. And far, far more contagious than the original variant.
Yes.
Right. Now, when you say that maybe whatever numbers that you used, that it's less likely to cause hospitalization, but because it's infecting so many people, you actually get more hospitalizations.
That's exactly right.
So what's the cause? Like, why are some people getting badly hit by it, whereas other people it's just a runny nose?
Well,
Why is it acceptable for the Pentagon to have funds that they can't disclose? I don't think they need to make them public, but they can at least show certain Congress people. Otherwise, isn't that literally a deep state thing that MAGA people talk about, where a government entity isn't held accountable by anyone and operates on its own? I mean, if you want to have that conversation, I think that conversation is totally fine. But just don't say that it's like a black hole of unaccounted money, or I'm sorry, of money that's just like lost or wasted, because we don't know. Just say that. Just say that there should be a different accountability mechanism or something. And they might already have one also, by the way. I'm not even sure. I'd have to go dig into it. But I'm just saying that just don't call it like wasted or mismanaged. Like, you don't know. That's just dumb. But I don't know what accountability mechanisms the Pentagon has internally, or the DOD or whatever has internally.
We don't know. We do know a couple of things about protection. Number one is if you've been vaccinated, particularly if you've had the third dose, if you've previously been infected, which also does add to your immunity, clearly, those obviously work in your favor. If you have some of these underlying health issues that we've talked about, which, it's not just about being in shape or not. People with diabetes, people with asthma, people who are immunosuppressed. There are 7.5 million.
Wait, Jesus Christ, true. This is the official Joe Rogan channel, right? Wait, why does this video only have 1.3 thousand views?
Americans right now that are immunosuppressed.
He posted like hundreds over the course of a week. Oh, okay. He was uploading like a backlog or whatever.
Because of the disease they have, they're being treated for cancer. All of those people are at much higher risk of having severe illness. And even what we saw with kids, we had never seen this level of activity as we saw with Omicron with kids.
When Joe Rogan's exclusive podcast deal ended, they mass uploaded all the episodes that used to be exclusive to Spotify. Gotcha. Okay.
And so I think the challenge we have today is...
For hospitalizations?
Yes, even for hospitalizations.
Now, the kids that were hospitalized, did all of them have comorbidities?
No, many of them did not.
So some of them were not even obese?
Yep.
And they were hospitalized?
Yes, absolutely.
Really?
Yep. Omicron clearly really took a hit on kids.
That's interesting because in my kids...
I don't want to watch. I can't do all this because this stuff still triggers the fuck out of me. These like escape questions that he's looking for, like, well, wait, did they have comorbidities? That's not an argument against anything, right? The fact that like 99% of Americans probably have some kind of comorbidity for something like COVID, right? Like obesity or being overweight is a comorbidity. Any kind of like diabetes or heart disease or any of these things could be comorbidities. That's not an argument. It's like, oh, so the disease itself doesn't actually matter. They had a comorbidity. It's like, yeah, motherfucker, like tons of people have tons of comorbidities for a lot of things. I don't know what the point of bringing that up is. They're so like desperate to like hang their hat on that point. Like, oh, it was a comorbidity, so it doesn't matter. That.
Kids' school, a few kids got Omicron, and it was essentially like me or my friends who got it. It was very mild.
If you look at right now, just through this up till this past month, with most of this activity having been primarily in the last 6 weeks, 1,334 kids between the ages of 0 and 17 have died from COVID.
1,334 kids.
Yep.
And out of these kids, how many had comorbidities? How many were obese?
Some did, but a comorbidity is not just obesity. Yes,
right.
In fact, let me come back and say,
like he's so fucking hungry for that. Oh, they're not real dads.
Somebody who has diabetes is considered having a comorbidity.
Sure.
If you look at somebody who has asthma, which about 7% of all the asthma in the country is in kids.
All sorts of autoimmune diseases.
Exactly. So all of those add to it.
Right.
And so that's been part of the real challenge we've had with this.
But for normal, healthy kids, is this something that's more dangerous than Delta?
Absolutely it was.
Really?
Absolutely it was.
Is that shocking to you? Because it seems like for adults, the effect that it has on the general population, it seems that the consensus is that it's more mild.
Yeah, I think that's one of the challenges we have. If you've known the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 and you knew it in 2021, doesn't mean how well you know it today, because things have changed.
Right.
For example, if you look at the infectiousness in kids, the early data we had on how well this virus transmits in kids was before we ever had the Alpha variant, which showed up in roughly December of 2020 into January 2021. And we found limited transmission in kids, limited severe illness. Then Alpha came along, and we saw much more transmission. We had places in this country that had large outbreaks, school-based outbreaks. Then that kind of went away. Then Delta came and added even more transmission with kids than we'd seen before, and Omicron was the king. And so I think if you knew COVID-19 back in 2020, you didn't necessarily know it today in terms of the infectiousness and what we saw happen. So I think that's one of the challenges we have is just keeping up to date on what it did and how it did it with kids.
And the variants, as they like, so there's the original version, and the alpha version is the first variant that was discovered.
Well, yeah, what they've labeled them by is the Greek alphabet. So alpha was kind of the first one there, and then we've had
but
subsequent.
not the original virus, but the first variant of the virus.
Yeah. Well, what's really interesting with this virus is the fact that if you look at what we call the ancestral variant, the one that originated in Wuhan, all the subsequent variants we've seen have actually all gone back, and their roots are in that ancestral variant. It doesn't mean that if you had alpha, it turns into delta. With a little bit more changes, it turns into Omicron. Every one of them have a distinct line back to the original variant, and that's one of the challenges we have because that's going to continue to happen, where we're going to continue to see these new variants show up.
And as far as the variants that are in play right now, like what percentage of the
Oh yeah, wait. So then what? So this was 5 months ago. So what was the original broadcast date, I guess, of this?
infections right now are Omicron? What percentage are Delta?
Yeah.
Is there any of the original variant left?
Well, the original variant surely is out there because we keep seeing these new variants come from it, so it has to be somewhere. I can't tell you where it's at.
The variants don't come from like Delta creating a new variant?
February of 2022, gotcha.
So it's actually take you back to the original variant. So the question on Omicron is an interesting one. Right now in the United States, virtually 100% of the variants we see are Omicron. They've
100%?
100% in the U.S. and virtually around the world. It's beaten out Delta completely. If you look in the United States, there are 3 sublineages of that variant, what we call BA1, BA2, and BA3. And we're watching a battle go on right now between those subvariants, and it turned out BA1 was the original one. We first saw kind of the original Omicron. But BA2, which appears to be more infectious now, is beating out Omicron. In some countries in the world, it's become the dominant variant. In the United States, it's still a small percentage, but it's growing. Last week it was 4%. The previous week it was 1%. So we don't know what that's going to mean in terms of seeing more of the BA2 variant emerge.
How do they make the distinction between Omicron, Delta, Omicron, and then BA1, BA2? Why do they decide that this isn't another variant? Why do they just keep calling it Omicron?
Yeah, and this is one of those questions where clearly I'm not the world's expert on the overall genetics of this virus, but I'll tell you that the mutations that occur surely can accumulate. If you look right now, for example, there's more difference genetically between BA1 and BA2 than there is between the ancestral virus and alpha.
Really?
Yes. So it has to do pretty much how it evolved out of that ancestral virus tree, and is it different enough? And so, there's been discussion that there may actually be some effort made to consider BA2 as a new variant of concern by itself. So, but this is, I think, the message here is this is what we have to continue to be mindful of. I know everybody wants me to say today we're done, and I hope we're done. But as I said just a moment ago, hope's not a strategy.
Right.
I think that we could still see the emergence of new variants that could challenge the immunity that we have already, which is what makes this virus so difficult and so different than we've had before. When you see influenza, pandemic influenza occurs because a bird virus finally evolves out of the bird, gets into particularly a pig, because a pig has a lung that has receptor cells for both human viruses and bird viruses. And when they get into a pig cell in particular, they combine, they mix up, the flu viruses are very promiscuous, and they come up with this brand new strain that causes the next pandemic. Well, when that spillover occurs into humans, that's kind of the seminal event. The rest of it emerges pretty much in humans. We don't necessarily see us giving it back to the animals, they give it back to us, we give it to the animals, they give it back to us. With looking at SARS-CoV-2 and this particular coronavirus, we don't know what it's going to do. Is it going to go back and forth between animals? I mean, I could line list an entire set of all the animals that are now infected with this virus, and we don't know what that means.
The first ones that we found that transmit from humans to animals, or back to in terms of SARS-CoV-2, was it ferrets? Like, what was the first animal that they discovered that humans can infect and they can infect us with this?
Well, there was game animals, mink and so forth in Europe that we saw that. But it became clear because we started seeing zoo animals infected.
Right.
Just this past week, we've heard about lowland
Cats
gorillas.
and stuff,
Cats.
yeah.
We've seen dogs and cats in people's homes where there were cases. And they got the white-tailed deer. I think there's a whole number of animal species where ultimately they could be infected with this virus. And the trillion-dollar question we don't know, will that in any way, shape, or form contribute to a spillback moment into humans with a new virus that, again, will challenge our immune systems, challenge our protection? And what does that mean? And we just don't know.
Is that the term they use, or animal reservoir?
Yes, absolutely. That's it.
So that's any other animal that can catch it. Now, catch
it and keep it going inside them. So sometimes an animal may get an infection from us and it's terminal. It doesn't keep going in the animal population. But as we just talked about the white-tailed deer, clearly there, the virus is ongoing with transmission in the deer population itself.
Are there any examples of an animal being infected?
Okay, I don't care. Boring.
Hey, brother, can you hear me?
Yeah, hey, what's up?
Do you have a second?
I've got all the seconds for you, bud.
Thanks, man. Hey, I need to call out the Young Turks and Cenk Uygur.
Oh, shit.
Have you ever heard of the CFPB, Stephen?
Wait. CFPB is the CFPB. Hold on. CFPB. Is it the Consumer Financial Protection Board?
Bureau, but close, very close.
What?
It's an independent agency. It was passed after the Great Recession.
Yeah. Didn't Elizabeth Warren or somebody have like a hand in
Yep.
this? Yeah. Okay.
100%. And this is an organization that tackles like fraud, corrupt practices by financial organizations. That was a big contributor to a lot of what was going on. A lot of payday loan stuff, mortgage shit, all that. People get fucked over that.
Yeah.
I mean, you've had people in your life, I think, that have been affected by these kinds of shady people, with payday loans especially.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember
I
Young
believe,
Turks.
I could be
Yeah.
wrong, but I believe that like, so before when you would get payday loans, you would just see the like, oh, I'm taking a $2,000 loan now, and then you'll get my post-dated check, and then I pay you like $100 in interest after 2 weeks or whatever. And you might not realize how crazy that is. But I think one of the outcomes of like the CFPB was like, now you have to post the APR and the APY on every single loan that you do. I think that was a result of them. That's like one example. I think it's something.
They pass regulation, they file lawsuits, they're regulators, and they help the American consumer.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people who are scammers and the real people who are trying to take advantage and scalp from the American people, they don't like the CFPB. It's been in the crosshairs of a lot of anti-regulation people, a lot of big business elites. It's one of the agencies that's on the chopping block for Project 2025. They've explicitly said they want to get rid of it. And it makes sense, right? Because these shady motherfuckers want to be able to do their dark dealings and scam old people and scam the American people.
Sure.
It's well within their, how many lawsuits have we seen of them trying to invalidate the CFPB because it's unconstitutional? And for years, the Young Turks and Cenk Uygur have been fighting to protect the CFPB. Ever since the start of the organization, they were commenting in favor of Elizabeth Warren, saying this is an agency that makes sense, calling out specifically Donald Trump whenever he was trying to appoint someone to the Bureau who didn't agree with the Bureau or was trying to undermine its mission. They were on top of this shit. It was the agency. It was like their baby. It was like one of the good things that, you know how they all kind of, they talk shit about Democrats all the time. That's kind of their MO.
Yeah.
The one thing that they approved of Obama in the response to the Great Recession is this particular agency. They said this was awesome, and finally someone did it. Did you see Cenk Uygur's recent post on his Twitter about MAGA not being the real enemy? Did you see that? Why don't you pull that up real quick?
Cenk Uygur.
Just go to his Twitter.
How far back am I looking here?
He said, MAGA's not my real enemy. I think it's the first one. I've been trying to figure out why I'm more optimistic. MAGA is not my mortal enemy. My mortal enemy is the establishment.
I'm trying to figure out.
They have
Okay,
been
yeah, I got. Oh, okay, I see. Okay.
He's happy. He's cheering it on. He says, my enemy have been defeated. He's ecstatic about Trump's victory. That's what he's saying right there, that his enemies have been defeated. And if you look back, did you see what he said to Elon when Elon responded and like just asked one question and gave him an ounce of attention on the budget? You remember what he said?
Something about like, oh, well, at least these guys are actually listening to us. And before, Democrats never listened to us. But thank God, like Elon put a one-word reply to me on Twitter. It's like fucking revolutionary. Yeah.
And now, after years of the Young Turks and Cenk Uygur specifically fighting for the CFPB and fighting for its establishment, the fact that we even have it, fighting for the policies that got us here, do we have a single tweet from Cenk Uygur to Elon Musk and his new best friend, or MAGA, saying, hey, after Elon Musk said we need to delete the CFPB, maybe we should keep it? Is there a single tweet that you can find from Cenk Uygur saying, hey, Elon, you're a fucking idiot. You're in the pocket of these billionaire robber barons who've been trying to attack the CFPB for years? In April 2018, when they were attacking the CFPB again under the Trump administration, you had video after video after video of Cenk Uygur specifically attacking the Trump administration, saying how corrupt they were for going after the CFPB. Not one whisper from Cenk Uygur. They released one little video about Mark Andreessen where they paint out Elon Musk to be like deluded or to be like this beguiled guy who's kind of enthralled by Mark Andreessen, but not Elon Musk. Is there a word of criticism from Cenk Uygur about the CFPB and about Elon's promise to shut it down, totally in line with Project 2025? There is not one word. This guy is a fake, weak populist. If he's unable to speak truth to power when it's his buddy, when it's his new buddy Elon Musk and his new friends MAGA, what use are you? We don't need weak progressives like this who get charmed by billionaires, who get charmed by the richest person in the world and by MAGA, who are excited about Trump's victory. We don't need these people in our movement. And if you're going to sit here and pretend for us to take you seriously, that you actually care about these issues, that you actually care about the CFPB, put your money where your mouth is, and why don't you give a word of criticism for Donald Trump and for Elon Musk for attacking this organization that you spent the better part of a decade defending?
I'm hoping that it'll just be, his answer would be something like, well, I'm just trying to see if I could have any influence whatsoever, or some bullshit. Even this is like a shitty answer, but like, I hope that it's not, I hope that we're not about to see a whole bunch of like Trump campaign and Elon Musk dick sucking from the Young Turks. Cause it's like, oh, he said a thing on Twitter about me and maybe these guys are useful to us. And yeah, that would be pretty.
They are bending the knee. We don't need like these weak establishment people. We don't need the Joe Scarboroughs of the world. We certainly don't need weak progressives that bend the knee to MAGA when MAGA is trying to rob them blind, rob the people blind by getting rid of agencies that protect the people. And all the while being sanitized by people like Cenk, Uygur, and others who have made common cause with this populist movement, which has really already been hijacked by the rich and elite class of the country. It's disgusting. And they paint themselves as protectors of the people. They paint themselves. Who are the guys that were actually defending the CFPB in court? That's the Biden administration. Who are the people actually, you know, with the NLRB and all these other organizations that are pro-worker, pro-union? Who were the people who were actually defending them and instituting stronger regulations to protect the people? That's Joe Biden and the Democrats, the people that Cenk Uygur says are his, quote, mortal enemy, not MAGA. MAGA who's trying to destroy them. MAGA who's trying to destroy the NLRB. MAGA who's trying to destroy the CFPB. You don't know if you don't know who your enemy is, how can we break bread with you, right? Like, how can there ever be a union of the Steven universe and the TYT universe if you guys don't even agree who's your enemy and who's your friend? And this, to me, this tweet from Cenk, that sounds like he's happy that Trump won.
Yeah, it's really cringe. It's kind of related, but you remember all the debates that we did against AJW about the horrible statements that Letitia Jones and Alvin Bragg made because they were so poisoned against Trump, and they were just doing political prosecutions because they said we're going to continue cases against the Trump that are already ongoing. Right, that was the worst thing ever. I'm waiting for all the tweets that are going to come out about this Kash Patel guy, about how he's going to go after the media.
Nothing so far. Just like there was nothing for Gates.
With absolutely no evidence, with absolutely no charges right now for stuff that's likely already been investigated. Barr was the head of the DOJ. It's like, I feel like it's absolute radio silence on a guy who's actually saying the most insane authoritarian, like, oh yeah, I am going to persecute enemies in the media. Like,
it's because that's what they want.
I know.
There are two things I want to point you to. The first is first of all, on the Matt Gaetz and RFK stuff, Cenk Uygur gives himself some cover and he's like, well, 70% is going to do bad thing, but 30% he's going to be the greatest HHS secretary in the world. 30% he's going to go against the big drug and the big food or whatever that is.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't say to the American people or his viewers, if you were a senator, would you vote for RFK, up or down, yes or no? And he won't answer that question because he is bought. And the same thing with Matty Gaetz. Now I know that he's withdrawn now, but if he were up for nomination and you were going to vote for him because they agree on something about, you know, owning stock, if you're a senator, they both agree with that in AOC, right? He won't say up or down, would I vote for Matt Gaetz as Attorney General if I were in Senate? Because he is completely compromised. And he won't give an answer, I bet you, on Kash Patel. Another point I want to bring up relates to Hassan. Did you see the Hassan, John, whatever, the Pod Save America guys?
I think I
part of their
like
rationale,
40 minutes of that, and I just couldn't even. Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Part of their rationale for why it was a problem for Joe Biden not to push harder on Joe Manchin was they didn't use all their levers. The lever that they didn't use was he didn't abuse the prosecutorial and investigatorial power of the United States to go after people for political reasons.
This was
in other words,
Kalinsky and Jimmy Dore talking point.
Yes.
I remember this a long time ago.
They're saying Joe Biden should have corrupted the DOJ.
Yeah.
He should have said, unless you vote for me, that is explicitly for a political purpose, we will only go after you if you vote the way I want you to vote. They are blue MAGA in that sense. They want the DOJ to be politicized that way. You can say that I'm a cuck and we have disagreements on Merrick Garland, but I don't think I'd ever catch you saying, yeah, they should have gone after Joe Manchin and given him a quid pro quo and said, if you don't vote for Build Back Better, we're going to launch a fucking investigation. I would hope that our leftist, populist brothers and sisters wouldn't be in support of such a blatant, corrupt government if it comes from Democrats. By the way, it wouldn't go anywhere. And it would be
most
totally
of the hard,
futile.
like it sounds so pathetic to say it, but the extreme stuff that like me and Josiah are usually asking for, and I think even you agree with it, and we might disagree on like exactly what it should look like, but generally it's just us saying like, I really wish that the laws that existed right now that were on the books were being enforced, like in a hardcore manner. Like not that, I do. I don't know if you've had this like same impression, or if I'm maybe it's just because I like look at shit on X. But I feel like prior to the election, Republicans obviously were very mask on about, like the authoritarian shit. And even after elections, you kind of expect that to continue. But I feel like after the election, I remember we said this, we talked about this a lot, that the worst outcome of the election was just that it legitimized all the behavior of Trump. And I feel like we're in like a very mask off world where like they don't give a fuck anymore. Like you could go to a Republican and be like, what about right here where Trump says that he wants to be the king and he wants to kill people in the media? And like I feel like a conservative would be like, yeah, he should. I'm actually mad he didn't say this earlier. I think he should kill everyone in the media. It's like, oh,
they're
okay.
so masked
like
off.
it's so insane. And I'm like, it feels like a wacky world. Have you seen, bro, we were reading parts of and then we saw this music video. Do you know a lot about this Kash Patel guy?
This man is insane.
Have you
Yes,
seen? You know that he published a children's book. Have you seen that?
Yes. It's crazy.
Oh my god!
This guy is peddling treasonous lies.
Yeah,
he's peddling insane conspiracies that are disprovable, or I should say, have no ounce of evidence to prove them. And he's going to be in charge of the FBI. Not a word from Cenk Uygur. Not a word from our progressive friends.
Also, wait.
Where are they?
Wait. He's going to be in charge of the FBI. Who's he taking over from?
Who? Chris Wray. Yeah, right.
Who was appointed by who? Yeah.
Like, dude, these motherfuckers.
Wait. Why did we need Chris Wray? Oh, because Trump fired Comey to try to stifle the investigation. Yeah, it's like.
So our direct line of FBI directors the entire time has been servicing Trump's whims.
But somehow, this is the deep state. The thing that went after Biden for classified documents, the thing that convicted Hunter Biden for multiple crimes, right? The thing that let Trump slide on everything. This is the deep state that's supposedly working against the conservatives. That the lawfare that's been weaponized against conservatives.
Bro,
it's like a joke. It's like at this point, it's just like it's like a meme. These are like memes now. It's like a meme government. It's a meme joke. All of it's like a meme joke. Yeah.
TYT thinks they're giving themselves like plausible deniability because they have said, well, 70% RFK will do something bad. No, dude. Unless you're willing to say I would not vote for RFK, unless you're willing to say, yeah, given that choice, it's fucking insane. I have no place for you. I have no place for weak bullshit artists. Really, I don't. And you might have been right on the Joe Biden stuff, and I credited you for that. And I even think Stephen and I think that you're like a good debater when you're on our side. You're a good, I don't know.
Oh, you're talking about you talking to Cenk or whatever?
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
But like, if you don't know who the enemy is at this point, if you don't know that it's MAGA, I got no use for you. And people are just too willing to bend the knee and to just betray their entire outlook, even if it's something that they've been advocating for fucking 2 decades. It's insane.
Yeah. It just a lot of it just feels like very memes now. I don't even know that the woman. I didn't even see this, I guess, because so much random shit was going on. A week and a half ago, Bondi, the new attorney general.
Yeah, another one.
She was like Trump's like personal attorney for the first impeachment thing.
Yeah, they're all
like,
MAGA extremists.
Yeah, it's just like, bro, there are so many things, and it's going to take a long time. This might actually destroy my ability to like conversate with any conservative for politics. I don't think I'm ever going to take a conservative again take them seriously talking about like law and order, or like when a conservative tells me about, and they all complain about this, Nancy Pelosi, the stock trading of the people in the House, blah, blah. Elon Musk made more money over this election than probably every single congressperson combined has probably made ever in the history of their portfolio appreciation for the history of the entire U.S. Congress. In 1 week. So like, how am I ever going to take
government?
Yes, yeah. Oh wait, and like a faux position that was created just for him by the president. Like, how am I ever going to take you seriously ever talking to me about like Congress people trading stocks? What a weak, stupid fucking
when he
position.
has a direct financial interest, by the way, in the tariff policy that Trump is proposing.
Well, not just that. The guy sells fucking deals to the government. The government is probably the client, the customer for Elon's companies.
It's the spoil system. These are he's going to propose the craziest amount of tariffs of abominations, man. This is Andrew Jackson come again. This motherfucker is going to just install all of his rich friends and family members to steal the treasure of America. They're stealing our treasures. And that the CFPB is another example of that. He's so naive. Cenk is so naive. He's so new to the world. What the fuck is he thinking? He thinks these people are his friends. They're using him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty.
What a loser.
Who have you argued with any Republicans lately over any of this? It just has to be like
they don't want to. They really don't want to debate. They don't want to discuss like any sizable, except for the Twitter people. Who wants to have real conversations? Is there even a discussion to be had about the level of corruption that these picks are about, or the policies about the tariff policies? Is there any defending them? The notion that we would have a 25% tariff on goods from Mexico and Canada.
I think the thing that bothers me the most is that, in a way, if we were to find out or if we were to uncover that Elon Musk had been helping Trump and all this, that would be a better world than what's happening now, because it's so in the open, it doesn't even matter anymore, right? Like, what could you possibly uncover that's worse than the outward support that Elon Musk has for Donald Trump? Like there's not even like conspiratorial stuff that would be worse. Like, it's just like on its face. It feels stupid to even call it corruption. Like, it's just like oligarchical. It's like by design. It's just like, it's unbelievable.
It's like Russia.
Unreal.
They want to make America Russia. What you have in Russia is this kind of mix between business, enterprise, and oligarchs and government actors. It's exactly what people like Cenk were supposed to be against. People like the populists were supposed to be against this incest between private business, private enterprise, corporate greed, and American politics. And he has the gall to say, I don't fucking care. My real enemy is Nancy Pelosi. I don't fucking care. My real enemy is who? Chuck Schumer. Give me a fucking break. These guys are fascists. And you called them fascists, and you're making common cause with them. Bro.
Yeah, it's pretty I don't know. It's just very I don't know. Like, how do you take anybody seriously? This is anything ever now. Like, if a conservative says like get money out of politics, like what? The richest man in the world is best friends with the president. He's on it. What do you like? What does that even
so
mean?
Funny.
Yeah,
it's so funny that Cenk's one of his main policy objectives, and everyone knows this who's been listening.
Is to get rid of.
I want it over to
Citizenship.
get rid of Citizens United.
Yeah,
his whole wolf pack, right? His whole strategy has been organized. If there's any one single issue you can point to, it's getting rid of money in politics, getting rid of super PACs, getting rid of Citizens United. You think Elon Musk, this guy who spent how many millions? 50 million? 60 million? Maybe more?
Elon Musk?
For Trump? Elon Musk.
No, you're way off. He spent, I think it was $44 billion, right? Was the purchase price of Twitter, because that's what he did with it, is he used it to, that's unironically, you're laughing, but unironically, that is what happened, right? It's stupid. And I think I even made a joke meme about this like a year ago about how, this is the whole fucking plot or whatever. But it's actually, that's real, right? He bought Twitter. He took it private. Now there's no contradiction to the shit that he wants to do. And then he ran it for, I hate saying this. I'm wasting my breath. This is a waste of breath right now. But imagine, visiting the imaginary world again. Okay, imagine that Jack Dorsey or Mark Zuckerberg have an official supporting Biden or supporting Hillary page. They take over the Ad America account, and then imagine after winning the election, now Zuckerberg or now Jack Dorsey is part of Biden's new government office of accountability. Conservatives would revolt. It would be an actual revolution in the streets. It would be over.
Charles Kushner, this other rich magnate who is literally a corrupt motherfucker who went to jail, who was pardoned by Donald Trump, is now going to be the ambassador of France. It's all transactional. Our government offices are for sale. And we don't need naive progressives like Cenk Uygur. We don't need weak progressives like Cenk Uygur who don't know friend from foe and are being charmed. Imagine being charmed by Elon Musk. He's being charmed. There's not a word of criticism. He said, delete the CFPB. That's what Elon Musk said. What, a week ago? Less than that? Not a word of criticism from Cenk. He was fine to go gallivanting on with Hassan on the Thanksgiving. Not a word of criticism of Elon Musk, because he's charmed. And if he's not in cahoots with Elon Musk, if all he is charmed by Elon Musk, all the worse. We don't need these weak people to lead our movement at all. And no one should be taking their cues from the Young Turks, Anna Kasparian, or Cenk Uygur until and unless they're willing to speak truth to power and call out Elon Musk and the new age of robber barons that are being led by MAGA, not by the establishment, whatever now Trump is the establishment. You understand that, right?
He's been the establishment.
Is Trump.
What do you mean? Like they've been he was the president of the United States. That's the strongest, most powerful position in all of government, in all of world history. Like, what do you mean? It's so crazy. That's like my anti-establishment guy who's running for the president of the United States again. Like, bro, what are we talking about? Yeah, man, I don't know. It's a wild world.
They're like few people. I just want to say that doesn't mean that CNN and MSNBC are doing a good job. I think you were looking at a clip earlier today. I was watching
that, yeah, where these guys can just make these claims.
Are for the birds.
And the lady's just like nodding on, and it's like, oh, you're just gonna let him get away with saying that that there's lawfare, that the DOJ is politicized. You're not gonna ask him for a specific example on any of these things. I used to be a lot more lenient on, especially mainstream. It's like, oh, I understand they need to keep their connections into this, but I was like, no. At this point, I'm sorry, there's no excuses. Why would you host this, right? Like this is and especially all these motherfuckers. I guess not CNN, but so many people were talking to me about like responsible platforming and all this. It was like, bro, where's our responsible platform here? How are you gonna let this guy come on and just repeat baseless conspiracy theories that everybody, the scariest thing too, holy fuck, I'm so paranoid that like in 30 or 40 years, I'm going to be like an old guy who's considered insane. These things are becoming solidified and congealed into fact, like historical fact in the United States. Right? Like, you know that in 20 years, there's going to be children that are grown up that are like, you know, in their mid 20s, and you're asking them, they're like, oh, do you know anything about like, yeah, remember the 2016, 2020 elections? They're like, oh yeah, like I learned about that. Like they were rigged. They were some of the only majorly rigged elections in the United States of America. Like in 2020, like this is what people are going to be learning and remembering. And it's going to be part of their historical narrative going forward. It's just like insane.
Lycan, quote, Pisco graduates law school, becomes a boomer. What did you mean by that?
Or the birds comment. That was it. You're in fight mode.
The phrase for the birds?
Yeah.
I'm getting my water real quick. 1 second.
Favorite phrases.
All right. You agree with me on everything I just said?
Did I already fucking I said that Cenk makes me an at-risk veteran when I see him tweet like this.
Based.
But since you were watching Stephen earlier, there was a thing he said that you will not give him an answer on. Do you remember what it was?
No.
Steve, do you remember what it was?
What?
The thing earlier you said Pisco.
I do. I remember. I was like half joking. I know. It was about the Eric Holder, I think, under Obama had a memo saying you couldn't indict a sitting president. And then my question is going to be,
why are there investigations?
Why would we have a special counsel at all into Biden when you could never even recommend charges to a sitting president? Because by that same logic, that's why all the charges are being dismissed against Trump now is because
the notion is that you can investigate, you just can't charge, and you could investigate, for example, things that even under this doctrine that are unofficial acts or things that are, if the Supreme Court deigns to give us an answer within the outer perimeter or whatever, or beyond that of official, that are subject to potentially presumptive immunity. The court did not say for certain, by the way, that it's only going to be presumptive immunity. They said that it might be at least presumptive immunity. So even for that stuff, there could be a base of investigation. There could be a base of investigation to find other people around who are involved in a conspiracy who do not have the benefit of immunity. And then obviously, once you're done with the investigation, you could have a charge after he's out of office, or it could be used for like an impeachment stuff. So investigation is not coextensive with charging. In this particular case, because there's already been a charge, there's already been an investigation, it's a different phase of the proceeding. And so that's why the difference is there.
I don't know how much I believe all that, but
Mueller, for example, investigated Trump, even though he knew he was not going to make a charging decision.
Yeah, but he could still recommend it, I think, right?
I think he could. Yeah, I think he should.
Also, fuck me. Hold on. My timelines are fucked. COVID. Did the Mueller investigation begin before Trump took office, right? Or was it after?
No, it did not. After.
Was it a continuation of investigations that were happening?
It was a continuation of. It was a continuation in a sense of Crossfire Hurricane, which.
Okay, that was it. Yeah. So they had the special counsel because they didn't want his own DOJ working on his own investigation. So yeah. But I don't know if Mueller. I don't know if that investigation would have started under Trump. No.
Trump wasn't actually a target until he fired Comey. At that point, he became a target. That's why there was a special counsel appointed by Rod Rosenstein after Sessions had recused himself. So the minute Trump became a target. That is when he fired Comey in a theory of obstruction of justice that is now so laughable, right? How could you obstruct justice by firing someone in the executive branch these days, even if your explicit purpose is to stop an investigation into yourself?
Sure.
Or into
Wait, just to be clear,
subordinate?
you're being facetious when you say that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because
yes.
yeah,
No,
because now
I'm-
yeah.
What I'm saying is, under the new immunity doctrine,
Yes,
I actually
yeah,
can't
you can do
conceive
whatever the
of
fuck you want to
Yeah.
do because it can never be a crime. Yeah.
firing someone, like looking into the rationale for why you fired someone.
Wait, I'm curious.
could
Do you
you-
think is there any legitimacy? Does the new Chevron doctrine or the overturning of Chevron, does that weaken a lot of what Trump wants to do theoretically? Because shouldn't the Supreme Court be the final say on all statutory interpretation now, which should theoretically limit Trump's ability to maneuver?
It would if he didn't pack the courts already. If they didn't have MAGA approved judges in all these positions.
That was my biggest fear, is that like technically the new Chevron doctrine is good for us because it will slow down their like ability to dismantle the government. But then there's a world where theoretically they just like basically rubber stamp
Okay,
everything.
I'm going to black pill you, and I'm sorry to scare everybody.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's ready for some? It's not to scare you to being hopeless though, because I think that there is hope at the end of this. You just need to be aware of this shit. Okay. So think about how this kind of thing will work out. We're going to use a specific case example of it, not a specific case, but an example in a specific area, and you want to apply this level or this kind of method of abdication of the judicial responsibility to other areas because they would apply. But we're going to focus on a specific thing, and that is immigration and birthright citizenship. Okay.
Oh, God.
Everyone understands that Congress is the body in charge of making rules for naturalization. Naturalization is a process by which someone becomes a citizen of the United States. Okay. But it's been long interpreted and understood that Congress can grant citizenship, but that doesn't give them the power to take it away. The fact that they have rules of naturalization, it's been Supreme Court precedent that they can't afterwards take action, Congress that is, to take away citizenship. However, there are some methods by people can lose citizenship. They can voluntarily renunciate their citizenship, or in certain cases, like if there's fraud in the obtaining of citizenship. But those are kind of like classical exceptions. Once you have citizenship, that's supposed to be a vested right. We don't really have banishment anymore. But there's another method to acquire citizenship besides the rules that Congress sets out, and that's under the 14th Amendment. People who are born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. And the reason they have that proviso in there, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, is it was incorporating the English common law that existed at the time. And that English common law rule established birthright citizenship, but had a couple of exceptions. One of the exceptions in the American context was American Indians. They are on their reservations. They have their own little spheres of sovereignty, and therefore they're not subject to the jurisdiction thereof, the United States. It actually took an act from Congress in the 20th century to establish birthright citizenship for American Indians born in tribal reservations or in tribal lands. The more historical common law exceptions to birthright citizenship are children of ambassadors and diplomats, right? People who are coming here, who are the children of the people being sent here to do diplomacy, aren't subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. They're sort of doctrines of diplomatic immunity that you've heard of, right? And so they're not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. And the final category are alien enemies, invading hostile enemies who are in foreign occupation of American land, or in the case of England, it would have been of the English land. Now, Donald Trump has promised to rescind birthright citizenship for certain categories of of purportedly citizens who were born to parents of illegal immigrants, so he says. And he would make the argument, I think one of the arguments he could make is there's an invasion happening in the United States. That these individuals are alien enemies in occupation of the United States. It's a laughable argument historically because invasion is a term of art that is meant to apply to hostile armies in a warlike fashion, with armies going over the border and forcibly taking land from a sovereign. That's what it's supposed to be about. But I want to, and there's additional statutory powers the president has that's on the books today that allows him to deport any alien enemy, regardless of whether they're here legally, if he proclaims a certain country is invading the United States. And even though, right, we understand that the historical definition of what an invasion is, we can look at the writings of James Madison, for example, that would be bizarre and not in keeping with the United States' like history and what it meant to be an invasion. Keep in mind, by the way, there was no immigration law restricting someone from coming into the country until 1875. That was the first time that there was it was an open borders policy in the United States until 1875, officially. And you can look it up. It's called the Page Act. In 1875, that was the first act. And so it's preposterous to think that the definition of invasion is just like breaking immigration law. There was no real immigration law until 1875. But now we're back to Trump and the courts and Chevron. Let's say that Donald Trump proclaims that Mexico is invading the United States of America. Or let's say that Donald Trump proclaims that the Mexican government really are the cartels or some portion of the Mexican government, because the president has a lot of power delegated to recognize who's a foreign head of state.
Yeah.
Let's say that Donald Trump says, I'm declaring Mexico to be invading the United States and these other Central American countries, and native-born residents of those countries are alien enemies in hostile occupation. And he starts to either A, deport green card holders who are from those areas based on his proclamation of alien enemies, or to start taking away citizenship on the basis of one of those common law exceptions, which is if you were born to alien enemies, you are not a citizen of the United States because you're not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, and therefore you're not entitled to birthright citizenship. If he were to do that, and someone went to court, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court, do you expect this Supreme Court to say, we actually know better than Donald Trump about the negotiations between Mexico and America? We actually know better than the executive branch to determine who's invading and who's not invading. We're just a court. Who are we to determine whether or not Mexico's invading, or whether the cartels are the real government of Mexico, or whether these people are coalescing in big gangs and taking over parts of the country? The government purports that there's entire hotels being taken over by Mexican. So we're going to have to defer to the executive branch about who is an alien enemy and who is in hostile occupation and who is an invader. Do you have any confidence, I'll ask you, Stephen, that this court would second guess Trump's determination about who is and who is not an invader and who is not an alien enemy?
I have no idea. I'd have to say there are similar rulings on other stuff related to, I guess, immigration or border commands from Donald Trump. But I mean,
I have no confidence. I just want to be clear with you guys. I have no confidence that if Donald Trump were to start rallying up individuals, gathering them up and putting them into camps, which I think is his plan, that if there were certain proclamations made with respect to alien enemies, which they've promised they're going to do alien enemies, that's the Alien Enemies Act, that the court would step in. Maybe some lower court, maybe some district judge, maybe some circuit. But I do not have any confidence that this Supreme Court is going to say we know more about what's going on in the Mexican border than the Trump administration, the executive branch. I think they would defer to the Trump administration's determination about who's an invader and who's not. I think that they would say political question doctrine. We can't look into it.
yeah.
And if it were done in bad faith, if Donald Trump said something like this, I actually know it's illegal to apprehend citizens without due process of law. I actually know it's criminal to wiretap American citizens without a warrant. He's not liable for any kind of criminal process afterwards because he's absolutely immune for official acts. And if he says, yeah, I know it's illegal. Yeah, I know it's against the law, but I'm going to wiretap this guy anyway. The Supreme Court has already protected him from that shit. So you got to be real. You guys got to be ready. This court, you can't expect them to be a bulwark against the excesses of the Donald Trump administration because they've already told you and signaled to you they're not going to stop jack shit.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree. What do you want me to do? It's a bad court.
Yeah, bro.
It's Jesus. Yeah. Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. You got Republicans in both halves of Congress now too, so.
True. MAGA Mike Johnson has already said he supports the Kash Patel appointment. And that's just going to be a branch of, that's just going to be an internal police state for Trump to order. Like if Trump were like, go arrest Nancy Pelosi, you think Kash Patel is going to say no? Can you imagine Kash Patel being like,
well, so the problem is there's a breakdown at every step, or now it's being accounted for because, so if you were to tell me Donald Trump is going to tell the FBI this thing, I would say, well, firstly, no, Donald Trump doesn't communicate like that. I would hope not. Right, the DOJ is going to have, the AG is going to have some say over this. And it's like, okay, well, the AG was his personal lawyer that protected him against a prior impeachment trial. It's like, okay, well, you have the FBI, the head of the FBI probably won't allow this. And it's like, okay, well, the head of the FBI is an actual lunatic that's been handpicked. It's like, okay, well, I don't think like the members of the FBI, because I've always said like bureaucrats they're Americans first, like they believe these things. But then you say, okay, well, what if like the Schedule F stuff comes to fruition and now you have to be like a Trump sycophant to even be in government? And then it's like all of your guardrails have been stripped
but maybe
off.
Congress might. Oh wait, Congress
Are
literally
Trump sycophants.
appointed these people.
Yeah.
they were Senate confirmed. Probably a lot of these people would be. You think they're going to be a guardrails? They appointed them. And so the last thing is the courts, and like the courts are
So
the
somebody-
courts are MAGA courts.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Somebody just real quick.
so I just-
we're just a real quick thing because somebody said this in chat, and I don't think we know the answer, which should scare you more than anything.
President Joe Biden has decided to issue a pardon for his son Hunter. It's expected to announce it tonight.
Behazed. Fuck them. Wait, somebody said the immunity is personal for the president, right? Everyone doing his illegal bidding would be liable for prosecution. Who knows? I think that if we accept that the immunity decision is good law, I don't know why the immunity for the president wouldn't flow down to every single person under his command.
I 100% agree.
Because every argument carries over, right? Who are you to say that the president can act with fearlessness and vigor if his AG can't? Right? What's a fearless president to give an order to his attorney general or through, and now they fear that they're going to be prosecuted, right? That defeats the entire purpose.
I totally agree with that. And even if it weren't that way, I just want to say logically, why would the people who are implementing the will of the president, that's supposed to be the thing that's vigorous, right? The thing that's vigorous is supposed to be the president's actions and determinations and decisions. But I totally agree that it totally makes sense to carry that forward if you're really following the logic of. Now, I would argue against it for other reasons structurally, but I don't know why it would be limited. And then, even if it weren't the case, Trump would just pardon all of them.
Or he doesn't even have to. You could say that. Yeah, he could just pardon all of them. Or he could just say, like, you're talking about, wouldn't these people be charged? Charged by who? His attorney general, that he's allowed to fire for any reason that he wants to at any point in time and appoint anybody else for any reason that he wants to for all point in time. And then if he doesn't appoint them because the Senate won't confirm, now he gets to appoint like an acting head, right? Like, or we can do recess appointments. Or like, that's just, it's.
So
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
you brought something up. I was thinking about the, as you were going through your chain of like, well, you could do this, that, and the other. I was like, well, remember institutions save us more. And you're like, yeah, well, then that thing, that's a Project 2025 thing, right? You're talking about?
I'm not even talking about Project 20. I'm just talking about everything I'm talking about is stuff. Pisco will agree with me here, I think.
Yeah.
Everything that we're talking about is already possible. You don't need Project 25 for anything that we've said. Trump has already done an EO for Schedule F. Trump is already sycophantically appointing heads to these departments. Now, they haven't been confirmed yet, I guess you could say. And the Supreme Court has already granted him immunity for any decision taken as president that's within his.
Correct.
Yeah. So when it gets to like the civil servants and all that, now, Pisco, maybe you know more about this than I do, but what I remember from my time in government is government employees, like non-contractors, are hard as fuck to fire. Like, we're talking anything that would get a contractor fired, drugs, watching porn on a government computer, whatever. Like, that shit would get you 86'd as a contractor immediately. But there are government employees who have done all that crazy shit, and they're pretty well protected. My understanding is really hard to just outright
Protected by
fire.
what?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So what's changing that makes it easy to just outright fire an employee?
The political will to do so. Like before, you're talking about people that are protected by institutions and structures and bureaucrats that like believe in the system and champion the system and want the system to continue. But if you've got a guy at the head who's just like, fuck this, I don't care, I want to burn it all down. And Trump wants us to like only have people in that are sycophantically, like working for Trump, then I mean, they don't have any special protections or whatever, right?
I don't know. That's what I'm curious if it's in the law.
Imagine Trump just fires and says, hey, everyone who doesn't agree with me, you're out. I'm firing you. Do you think that the Supreme Court's going to be like, because that's eventually maybe, like, even if there were courts that disagreed, you think this court would be like, actually, the president isn't a branch unto himself, even though we like literally said that in the immunity decision. And actually, the president, he needs to be, unilateral decision maker, except when it comes to people of a certain level of seniority, people who are like the postman delivery people. He can't fire those people. Like, I have no confidence whatsoever in this court drawing that kind of distinction, whereby you're protecting some level of like civil servants from firing for any reason whatsoever.
And
at will,
actually,
even
and
if it's against contracts.
I don't even know, and I guess people say, I don't even know if assuming that all this other crazy shit hadn't happened, I don't even know if I think that like a branch shouldn't be able to do that, right? Like, let's say that an AG came in or somebody came in, they're like, I really do want a house clean, and I want to fire half the FBI because I think that they should have fucked or whatever. Like, I don't even know if necessarily they should be barred from doing that, right?
If they should be barred from firing people?
Should you not be allowed if you're the head of the FBI? And you're like, I want to fire like half the FBI because this shit is fucked. I read this, the Durham report, and I think there's too much political bias. I'm just going to fucking fire half the people, and we're going to rehire and do all that. I don't even know if they should necessarily be banned from doing that. I think they should probably be allowed to if they want, right? It's their department, it's their head, right? The issue is just how it's all being used.
I think subject to certain independent agencies, which have been allowed in the Supreme Court precedent prior to now, I think that it makes sense to have like executives be able to make firing decisions. I think it's good for like the democratic people. Basically, the agency should be answerable to the American people ultimately. And how they're answerable. The agencies should be answerable. Bureaucrats should be answerable to the American people. They've come to work for the American people. And so I agree the president should have some influence over where they're hired and fired and that kind of stuff. But I think it should be subject to norms, which are all out the window, right? And subject to certain independent agencies where it doesn't make sense for them to just be fireable at will from the executive if there are conflicts of interest that Congress should be allowed to establish. But my whole thing on that is like that those are gone. The courts are they're very much in favor of the unilateral executive, unitary executive theory. So I just don't believe that there's going to be much limit, if anything, there. I think they'll be able to fire whoever he wants. Maybe they'll have to pay a fee, even if it's like against the contract. The end result is these people aren't going to be in positions of power, and I doubt any court's going to issue an injunction saying you have to rehire this person or you can't have fired him, like directly to Trump or directly to one of his major subordinates. I just don't expect the courts to do that.
Maybe.
So, I just did a quick little chat GPT on this. So,
what?
Yeah, on like what it takes to fire a federal employee, like in these organizations, and like what would protect them.
Are you trolling?
No,
What?
he's saying he Googled it and he's asking a question about it. Yeah, that's fine. There's nothing wrong.
Yeah, wait, hold on, Pisco, what's your issue?
With you using Chat GPT to get a query and get an answer?
No, it sounds like it sounds like he asked ChatGPT, what do you have to do to fire a federal employee? And now Lycan is going to read that answer to you, and he's going to ask if this is correct and if you can fire somebody or if this would actually prevent it from happening. It sounds like what he's going to do, right?
Okay, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jesus. Okay, so it says that some federal employees fall under the civil service system. Does the FBI?
I don't know. I'm not an employment lawyer, so I can't give you these specific answers.
So then
all I'm saying is it's broader than that. What I'm telling you is I believe the vision of this court's of executive theory is that the president is vested with unilateral, unitary executive control, and that I think if they were squarely faced with the issue of whether the president has complete control over who's fired and who's not, they're going to side with the president of the United States. That's broader than any law that Congress could pass, because what I'm thinking is that the court would side and say, hey, if Congress wants to put a restriction in, they don't have to, they can't undo the constitutional command of the vesting clause in Article 2. And likewise, if there's a contract, maybe the executive has to pay a fine or something, but they can't control the actual employment decision itself. That's what I think would happen.
So here's the other thing. Like, a lot of these people are unionized, like NSA, FBI, all these employees. Like, these folks have unions.
Wait, is that true? There's like an FBI union?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know about the FBI. I know the agency had union workers.
Wait. When you say union workers, do you just mean people that are contracted
I mean,
by the government who happen to be in a union, or
not contractors? Not contractors. There was no contractor union. It was just federal employees.
Huh. Okay.
So it says that the scope of Schedule F only targets policy making, advocating, or determining positions. Is that true?
Yeah. So, I mean, they're worried about getting into the actual decision makers. So I would probably agree that that's what they're focusing. I don't know specifically Schedule F, whether the scope of it only applies to policy decision makers, but whether it does or not, what's the point?
Well, because then if it doesn't affect operational roles, like, isn't that what stopped that one thing, Stephen, with the letter? Like, didn't it get down to the operational folks and they were like, yeah, fuck you do this?
No. That was the heads. That was the
was it all
Attorney
heads?
General. It was the acting Attorney General and Deputy Attorney General. And
well, no, that was those two.
The heads of the various different DOJ components.
What are we talking about?
We're talking
remember
about the DOJ letter that they wanted to send over to the states saying that there's electoral fraud. And he asked, was that people on the operational level or people who have policy influence? And the truth is, it's the heads of all of the major components of the DOJ and including the Deputy Attorney General and the Acting Attorney General. Those were all policymakers.
Yeah.
Those are supervisory people.
No, those people were, but I thought it went down like a few rungs lower to where they would have pulled other people from, and they said, we're all going to walk if you do this.
They probably would have walked.
The people that they said were going to walk, that Rosen and Donahue got on board, were all of the associate attorney generals who are the heads of all of the subdivisions of the different DOJ parts. They didn't go below that. So I think it was maybe 10 or 15 different, or maybe a few more. But like the assumption would be after, if those people all walk, then you'd probably have hundreds or thousands of other DOJ employees walking as well.
Exactly. So what I'm ultimately getting at is this is still scary shit, 100%. But like, does it get to the point where, the people who know the FBI, if Kash Patel doesn't have like a come to Jesus moment, if he doesn't have a come to Jesus moment and
sorry, come to Jesus moment. Do you have hope for Kash Patel?
No, fuck no. God, chill. Pisco. What I'm saying is, if he doesn't get shown the dark secrets and have that like grim expression like Obama when he walked out of his first intelligence brief, and he's like, oh, okay, man, I was fucking stupid and this isn't how this shit works. If that doesn't happen, which I don't expect it to, like, is it possible they start doing this shit and just every other part that actually makes these organizations run just says, go fuck yourself. We are not doing any of this.
But then
there's no chance. If there's anyone who wants to be
fire him, right?
Yeah. If there's anyone who's being a barrier to what Trump wants to do in the executive branch, they're going to get rid of him.
Yeah, they just fire him, right?
If they have a fireable offense, I don't know.
Why do they need a fireable offense?
Yeah, you're not implementing what we want.
One of the issues that you're running into here is people would call these like constitutional crises, is that every time you talk about them breaking a rule, right, or breaking a law, you're asking them to enforce it on themselves, right? Now, ordinarily, we would say that if somebody within a government agency is doing something that's breaking a rule or law, then we can do something about that, right? We'll have a special investigator or special counsel or some type of investigation or whatever. But if this is coming from the top of the department, well, okay, fine. Let's say that what you just said is true, okay? And let's say that even goes through the courts, right? And let's say that even the Supreme Court, which I think me and Pisco don't think that they would side with the American people or the United States in concept, right, or in theory, right? Let's say that they say, okay, actually, all of these firings that you just did in the FBI, these are actually illegal. You can't do these. Okay, well, who's going to enforce that? The FBI is your federal enforcement body. Who's going to enforce it against the enforcer? Literally, this is what a constitutional crisis is, right? Technically, the president doesn't have to really do anything, right? He's the one that enforces the laws, and who enforces the laws against him is really nobody, right?
Well, I guess my thought would be, I don't know the makeup, but like, let's say it was the CIA, right? And the entire Directorate of Operations decides, hey, fuck this, we're not doing this, and 80% of them say they're gonna go. Mm-hmm. So let's say some equivalent in the FBI does the same thing. I assume at that point it creates a situation where it's like, oh yeah, well, we can't do jack shit, and we cannot afford to lose this many people, and in the public eye, losing that many is going to be like a death knell to this administration.
No, they prepared.
Well, yeah, what you're saying is true, but just keep in mind that what you're saying is that none of this has to do with the structure of government, the function of government. It has to do with how does it look publicly. And you are right there that if they feel like it would look bad publicly and they had no contingency for it, then yeah, then their hands would be bound, but not because of any process or procedure, but just because it would be really unpopular. So they'd lose their mandate. But now they're trying to plan for all those contingencies. That's the issue.
Well, just trying to find some hopium in this.
Yeah, no, the hopium is that the midterms are in 2 years, and effectively that means tomorrow. And in 1 year, everyone's gonna be prepping for the midterms. That's the hopium, and the hopium is that, and unfortunately, I don't want this to be the case, but I just think it's going to be the case that the country is going to degenerate under this administration. You're going to see economic pain and corruption on untold scales. And unfortunately, we're going to have to go through some things. And the hope is the American people will connect the dots between outcome and source. Now, I'm not sure that's going to happen, but that's the hopium for me. Well, and then you have certain people like Steven, I have to say, and others who aren't like two-faced about who the enemy is. and aren't making apologies for the enemy, which is MAGA.
So what's the chance that they slow roll things first 2 years, right? They don't want to upset the base. They want to be able to capture some more seats in the House and Senate.
What do you mean? They've campaigned on cutting away all these things. People think that these are really all like horrible.
I'm
evil
not saying they
people
won't do
trying
some. I'm saying they don't do the big things. Like, I think doing that to the FBI is setting the stage for then, after the midterms, once they have either maintained some control or even secured more control.
Like, and I love you. I don't know, like, I don't know what I have to do.
Oh, no. Hold on.
I just want to finish it. I know, but I just...
Wait, no, you don't know that I'm getting to a darker time, Pisco, okay? I'm going towards a black pill, right? Is that they implement those reforms after so that they don't lose the midterms, and then it's...
But why would they lose the
FB
midterms? They didn't cheat to win the election. They won because a lot of people voted for them. They have a public mandate to do this. They don't have to cheat or do... Again, this is what I just said earlier. Like, there's nothing that could come out about, like, a conspiracy or whatever that would be worse than Elon Musk and what he is publicly. But people voted for that publicly. They weren't tricked or deceived. This is... People saw it. It was all pretty much in the open. And this is what they voted for. So why would they have to hide what they're doing, you know, going into the midterm? They don't have to hide anything. The people will champion it. Like, oh, what's this? You fired half the FBI. Now the FBI says that they can't even function.
You said you were going to do that.
Yeah, you said you're going to. And now, oh, so great. So now the FBI can't false flag people like the Whitmer kidnappers who were false flagged. Now they can do false flags like J6. Now they can do false flags like their operations in Ukraine. And now they can't false flag. Like, yeah, they'd be like, okay, great. That's good.
Okay, well, either way is awful then. They don't lose the midterms. They got the FBI. And then at the end of Trump's presidency, he tries to do some crazy shit that keeps him in office. But what I was going for is that the whole point of the whole, like, they don't try to upset the balance so that they can do it after the midterms, secure stronger hold on Congress, and then he can, you know, try to, I don't know, extend his time in office.
You're still thinking that this is all like hidden, shadowy, in the dark stuff. It's not. This isn't open. He wasn't. They don't like him doing your strategy would probably be worse for him in the midterms. Him not firing people or him not doing crazy, extensive actions. Like, he needs to do that. This is what they voted him in to do, was to destroy the government.
Yeah, we're fucked.
People, and maybe this wasn't you, Lycan, so maybe you did. Maybe I did preempt you a little bit. But I want to say there are people who are like, is he going to go after his political rivals? Is he? Guys, what do I have to do for you set of people? And this, by the way, includes Cenk, Uygur, and the TYT people who this is the theme of me being on here today. When will you wake the fuck up? They promised to do it. They're going to do it. They promised to be corrupt, and they're going to be corrupt. So people who are like, oh, you know, maybe Matty Gaetz comes in and he's actually the best attorney general of all time. I know he's not actually up anymore. Or maybe Kash Patel comes and shakes things up from the establishment. You guys have lost the fucking plot. That's not what's going to happen. He is going to do the corrupt things. He promised to do them. He's telling you he's going to do it. Stop wondering. Stop being equivocal. This goes to Andy McCabe, who was on CNN or whatever, and being like, I think he has the potential to be doing these kinds of weird... There's no potential. This shit's happening. You got to get with it. I mean, bad stuff's going to happen.
No, I'm in line with that. I learned that lesson in 2016 when I thought Trump was going to come in and do exactly that. Like, I figured the presidential switch turns on and it becomes normal. But hey, you know, it's not someone tied to Washington. We're going to see some big change. And, well, it was about, I was still a Republican back then. And it took about 2 months after the inauguration for me to be like, oh yeah, fuck this guy. Hillary should have won.
Yeah,
Wait,
I mean, I think...
go ahead, sorry.
Or no, go ahead, you.
You wanted Trump to win in 2016?
Oh yeah, I was conservative, man.
Oh, okay. God,
I didn't want Trump to win the primary, but after that point, I was like, fuck it, I don't want Hillary.
I don't know what it is about this world that so many people are charmed and put under his spell. Like, I see that there must be something that I'm missing. There must be like some gene or some personality trait that I'm missing.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I just like,
oh
this
my God.
This motherfucker is such an obvious con man, such a piece of human garbage. I just have no tolerance. I've never had a tolerance for this motherfucker.
I think that usually one of the follies that we fall into when you're looking at somebody, you're like, this guy is so obviously bad. Well, I think that the error in thinking is to try to think, okay, hold on. How do people view him as good? But that's not actually what's happening, even though they kind of get around to that. What's actually happening is what you should think is like, okay, hold on, wait. Okay. people are viewing this guy as being not bad. What you should think of is, why do they think everybody else is worse? Because that's what's actually happening, or at least that's the road that people are on. It's not that they see Trump and they're like, this guy is a moral, upstanding citizen who's really going to vote for him. It's more that they already see, like, every accusation made against Trump, like, okay, fine, maybe he did those things, but Hillary Clinton's done worse. Hillary Clinton lied about all of her emails and backstabbed the government and murdered people in Benghazi, and J6 and the Whitmer and the pipe bombs and all of this were fake, but so who cares, right? Like, that's how they view the world.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot true to what you're saying. So yeah, I think we disagree on the pardon, but I'm not going to dwell on that because.
Wait, are you against the pardon?
I am, yeah.
Nah, fuck it. We're gonna have norms upended.
But like the thing is, Biden has really, in my opinion, fucked us over. Ever since he decided to run again, ever since he's just been unable to accept the fact that the party was moving on. That to me really fucked us over. And I hate it because, in my opinion, he's been the best president in my lifetime. And it's ending on such a dark note where he has failed on his promise to restore the soul of America. He's completely epically failed. And he ends it by doing a Trump style pardon. It's just something that I find, it leaves a horrible taste in my mouth. We need stronger Democrats.
I can understand.
We need killers.
I can understand what you're saying there. I will say this was a warning. I can't find this. I'm not inventing this in my mind. I feel like I remember Biden saying during the primaries that he would only do one term. I feel like I remember that, and it just like what?
He didn't say that. He said he'd be transitional.
I'm almost positive Biden said he was only going to run for one term. I feel like I will find this clip. I know he said this.
He never said it. I promise.
know he said this. I know
Are we
he
getting
said
Mandela? Because I heard this too.
No, I know he said
transitional.
This. I'll find it. I will find this. Okay, but
I'll never find it.
I mean, like, we can say right now that he shouldn't have ran again, or like all these retrospective things, and like maybe not. But it was. I mean, who knows? Like, that's the issue, right? Like, I can see a world. Actually, I guess this is the same speech that I gave before before Harris swapped in, right? Where it's like, it could be really good, it could be really bad. I mean, I guess we've seen how it's turned out. Maybe Biden would have been worse, but like, I see a world where Biden doesn't run again, and maybe there's an open primary, and we get new blood in, and it's really great, and blah blah. Or maybe you've got a bunch of Democrats who are too scared to speak out against the current admin, or they do speak out against the current admin, and now they're like, half the party is not on board, or even 10% isn't on board, and you can't claim any of the good incumbent things, and you get all the bad, but maybe not, who knows? Yeah, I understand the frustration. Like, I sympathize. It sucks. Yeah,
bro, we need to go after some of these vulnerable Republicans hard.
Jesus, can you qualify? What do you mean?
Yeah, electoral.
There you go.
We need DGG operations, after metaphoric electoral operations against some of these incumbent Republicans. I'm looking at you, Lawler. I'm looking at some of these other vulnerable incumbents. We need to watch them like a hawk, and we need to be following their every vote, posting all their L's. We just need to have dossiers and just be constantly flooding the market with all of their corrupt shit. Every single vulnerable congressional Republican.
Yeah, but you have to.
Operations.
Remember what I said. You're trying to make them look bad, but they already think everybody else is worse. That's what you're fighting against, because because people don't care, right? Like I said, it's not like we don't have to expose anything. It's out there in the open. Like the Elon Musk stuff I don't know what I could ever show somebody privately that would be as bad as what Elon Musk is publicly. What could I ever show somebody that would rise to that? Like
Donald Trump having sex with Laura Loomer?
Half true. But I don't think they would even care. They already didn't care. The fact that his wife is like absent on everything. Like, they don't care about any of this. I don't even know what you could possibly do. I have no idea. I truly don't know. It feels like clown world. It's like really insane. The Elon stuff is so crazy. Pisco, you realize how crazy that is, right?
It's
worse. It's worse than
fucking corruption.
It's worse than the worst accusations of what George Soros was. Like, that you have a guy who owned. I don't want to repeat it. Like, Jesus. Yeah, I don't know.
Say it. No, you need to repeat it again.
No, I mean that you have a guy who owns it sounds like I'm rattling off like a fucking retard conservative conspiracy theory. Imagine you have one billionaire born in Africa who was a legal immigrant and came to the United States, and now he does all the fucking satellites and all the fucking spaceships, and he does fucking AI, and he's researching how to put microchips into people's brains, and he buys the largest news social media company, makes it private, buys or steals the At America Twitter account, does stump speeches for Trump across the swing states, gets him elected, increases his net worth overnight to a greater amount than the entirety of all of Congress's fucking net worth of the history of the United. There's just so much. And it's they don't even care about any of that.
Degenerate, corrupt Republicans all support it.
Yeah, it's just insane. Insane.
And the reason why I'm going after Cenk Uygur and people like him is because these populists are supporting it too. You have and who else? Governor Polis from Colorado. He welcomes the RFK nomination. He welcomes it. A fucking Democrat. A Democrat who was in line, who people were talking about. This guy should be a candidate. Fuck that. I'm not voting for Polis in any fucking primary at all. And you guys should be making sure. Oh, we have a lot of subs. Look. Holy fuck.
Nays Garden, thank you for giving 25 subs. DG chat.
You guys should be making sure this guy's never a national candidate, ever. Anyone who can't see enemy from friend cannot be the leadership of this party.
Did you see Bernie's tweet, Pisco?
Yeah, what do you say about Elon's right about military spending?
Yeah, maybe I'm being soy, but I don't like, even if he agrees with it, I don't like the chalking it up to, hey, Elon's right. He can make those comments without saying, hey, he's got one thing. I've heard some people say it's a bridge, meeting him in the middle. I don't like giving any credibility to that, especially from someone as high profile as Bernie.
He's a robber baron, and they want to be charmed by him, and they want to play.
Wait, Bernie said it was good?
Yeah, Elon is right about military spending.
Oh, yeah. Well,
about, in particular, the fact that they failed the seventh audit. I don't know if it's in a row, but
there's one thing in saying someone that you disagree with is right about something. I mean, I say that Trump is right about some stuff. People there are some policies of Trump's that were good. No one can say that you can't agree with someone.
I think I'm Zizek pilled. I think Zizek had a really good take on this, that the framework is so totally wrong that even if you happen to agree on a particular thing, you don't really. No. You don't really. If there's a guy who's deciding policies by rolling a dice, right? And he happens to pick 2 out of 10 policies that are good. It's stupid of me to go well, he was good on these 2 policies. No, that's bullshit. The framework is so broken. Even if he stumbles into the correct answer, sometimes it's stupid to agree. Or if you do, it has to be with a massive set of qualifications. You have to caveat the fuck out of that because it's stupid and naive otherwise. Be at least Trump was okay on this particular thing. Yeah.
No, you're right. No, I agree with you. That's right.
Yeah.
So it's but I something I heard Josiah say was don't remember when 6 of the 12 crazy nominations passed through. Don't fucking give them any credit for it because they still pass through 6 crazy, insane people.
Yeah, that was my point too. Either I stole that from Josiah or he stole it from me, or we independently brain theory that at the same time. Yeah, that there might be there might be 17 insane fucking picks and they block 5 of them and they're yes. And it's oh, okay. Well, 12 fucking lunatics got in. Yeah.
This piece of shit. What the fuck?
Why don't you try to get a debate, Pisco?
There's no point in debating them.
Because I'm gonna push them to get actual answers, and they don't want to give answers. I would say, would you vote for RFK Jr. as HHS secretary or not? Yes or no? And they don't want to give an answer because once they give an answer, I'd give them a chance. Then they know that they're siding with the Trump administration, and I think that all they're doing is optical. They want to paint themselves as part of a growing populist movement and steal Trumpism, just do it Cenk style. But it means you're being MAGA. You're being the real blue MAGA are the people who want to have a Trump movement on the Democratic side. And I think they are uncomfortable when anyone exposes that. And the way you expose that is with clear answers, clear questions. Would you vote for RFK Jr.? Would you vote for X and X policy? Then they can't be 70% he's going to do something bad, but 30% he could be. That's what they want to do. They want to keep it ambiguous enough that they have plausible deniability so that when RFK does something amazing, they said, hey, We told you that he would have a chance to disrupt it, and it looks like that's exactly what they did, guys. And so join the Young Turks. We tell it how it is. And that's how they do it. It's a kind of a shell game. They won't stand by and actually criticize the people they're charmed by. And if they will, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, Cenk Uygur. Tweet something at Elon Musk and say, you're corrupt. I'm going to criticize you for your robber baron ways and for saying that you want to delete the CFPB. Criticize him for doing things that other Republicans that you figured were more establishment have been doing for years, trying to gut the CFPB. But he won't do that because he's charmed. And he's trying. And whether you're an establishment Democrat or a TYT Democrat, we don't need weakness.
True. Yeah, and the idea that like the idea that like it feels stupid. It feels stupid to say. It's not stupid. I'm sorry, but it's just like Jesus. Yeah.
Our next leader has to have balls. The new wave of Democrats. I'm not going to be supporting people who are equivocal about MAGA. Mm-hmm. Fuck that. No way. It's like
because
Scarface. Fuck that.
It doesn't get you. I'm curious. Actually, I'm kind of no. It doesn't get you anywhere. Yeah. Like I'm still reminded. I'm haunted over and over and over again by how many times. I'm sure we could look it up on Twitter today. People do it. How many times people quote that Biden thing about MAGA Americans, despite the fact that Biden literally qualified it with not all Republicans are MAGA Republicans, not even most of them are, whatever. And it's still like, oh, look, he's attacking the whole Republican Party. Like all the qualifying, all the caveating, it doesn't help. Nobody cares. Like these guys are insane anyway. Thanks, Garden. Thanks for the 25 more gifted subs. Yeah.
MAGA is my enemy, and I want to destroy them electorally. That's what I want. And I'm not going to do this fake shit of pretending that they're not and not telling the truth. They are the enemy, and we need to destroy them electorally. And Steven's going to help us. True. And you guys are going to, I've already seen, by the way, I'm so fucking impressed by everyone in this community, because even not just Steven directly, there are other people who've been DMing me, hey, how can I help with this? Do you want to be a part of this? Do you want to help for this video? Do you want to help, retweet this? When Brian Tyler Cohen said in some base tweet, oh, everyone, let's promote this. Let's do like, it is so fucking impressive to see patriots, real patriots. You guys are the real patriots. And I'm going to start using that language because we need to bring it back. We're all patriots. The people who are trying to destroy this republic are the MAGA Republicans, and the people who support them, and the people who are like the fucking apologists for the king, by the way. Remember back to the Revolutionary War days? You had some people who were like, hey, this King of England guy, he's not so bad. No, we need fucking real patriots. And so, I am going to use that language because that's the language that is authentic and true, and we need to appropriate it ourselves and go harder and recognize foe from friend. We're the friends, all of us, the patriots. Yeah. The foe is MAGA. That's our enemy.
I just want to do this first paragraph real quick. I don't want to get into all this. And then, I guess you can give me your feedback. So I see Jared posted on the neoliberal subreddit about his RFK comments.
Jared Polis?
Yeah.
On the subreddit. Okay, great.
Not on mine, on the neoliberal subreddit. Sorry.
Okay.
So he said, knowing how hard a time our neolibs have not shilling for big pharma, I want to add some color to the seemingly populist mantra. I'm just going to read up to here, okay? Which I personally adopt of taking on big pharma and see if folks here agree or disagree. When I assail big pharma, I'm not attacking the engine of innovation that saves lives, the billions of dollars of private sector research into treatments and the incentive structure that creates them, or the inherent bigness of it, but rather three and only three things. 1, Americans are sick and tired of paying several times as much for the exact same prescription drug as other wealthy countries. Essentially, big pharma has co-opted the American government to prevent the same kinds of negotiations on price that every other nation does. The net result is that Americans pay 2 to 10 times as much for the exact same medicine. Examples: insulin prices in the US are nearly 10 times higher than in the UK. Even if you shift the cost from out-of-pocket and cap it to socialize it, as Colorado has, it still costs 10 times as much net. Humira is 423% more expensive in the US and in the UK and so on. Americans should be able to purchase prescription drugs at the same costs as in other wealthy countries, but Big Pharma has thus far successfully co-opted government to prevent that. Yes, the USA is home to a disproportionate amount of drug research, and American consumers have slightly more income than European consumers, and I wouldn't complain if Americans negotiated and still had to pay a premium of 10 to 30% over European prices, 4 times as much, 10 times as much. Okay. This is the only thing I want to say, and this is why I don't like it when people talk about like, oh, it's all the government lobbyists and corporate blah, 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 okay? Big Pharma is not the reason, and this is what I think people need to be doing when they need to make better positive arguments for government and positive arguments for government policy. Big Pharma is not the reason why our drugs are so expensive. It's because a lot of Americans just fucking hate the government and they don't trust the government, okay? It wasn't big ISP that prevented net neutrality from passing. It was conservatives pushing the idea that they didn't want Obama controlling your fucking internet line, okay? It wasn't Big Pharma that destroyed our ability to have single payer healthcare or even a public option, okay? It's Americans it was Palin talking about death panels, okay? It was people talking about how government is going to make these decisions to destroy your life. If you want to spend all day screaming and screeching and crying about Big Pharma and big companies and lobbyists destroying everything, you can do it, that's fine. But the reality is at the end of the day, there's just a lot of Americans, especially on the conservative side, that just think that government is inherently evil and is never doing anything to help the American population. And if you don't ever make any positive arguments for government policy overcoming that, then none of this shit fucking matters. But
also, this guy's, even if everything he was saying were true about costs and the fact that the American system for pharmaceutical prices is the worst in the world or is really, really, really bad, RFK is advocating for policies that are going to kill people. Yeah. You fucking idiot. Governor, why would you embrace RFK Jr. when what he is known about is denying reality? He's saying we want to get rid of fluoride in the water. We want to get rid of vaccines. We want to reintroduce raw milk and increase things that are known to be toxic and bad or not effective as replacements for effective treatments. This guy who is a degenerate, lying scumbag, and you want to put him in charge of American health, and you embraced him, Governor. That shows that you have no judgment whatsoever. How you could look at this person and say, I actually think he has a good point about this. I welcome this, even though it would be like appointing some crazy, let's think about it, some schizophrenic homeless person as commander-in-chief because he actually can, budget pretty well, even though he wants to like invade another country or something that we don't want to invade.
That's why I'm saying, the framework is important, even if a couple actions in it, Dude.
And so Governor Polis, no one should vote for you ever. I know that you're term limited in Colorado until and unless you retract your endorsement of RFK Jr. or if you give clarification of whether you will vote for him. I think you already did, honestly. You have no place being in the leadership of this party whatsoever. We're not going to be supporting capitulators to kooks like RFK Jr. And by the way, ditto for Cenk Uygur, who does the same kind of apologia. Yeah. Failing to criticize, failing to call out the bullshit corruption of RFK Jr. and his delusions.
Yeah. Just as a quick thing, again, this is about frameworks. I don't know about water fluoride, but apparently Germany and Japan don't do it, and they're probably fine. Getting rid of fluoridated water in the United States would probably not impact us much. We would probably just have slightly worse dental outcomes. The issue isn't whether or not we have fluoridated water or we don't have it. The issue is that people want to get rid of it because they think that the government is trying to poison you and your children. And the only reason that it exists is because companies are somehow profiting from it.
It's how you think.
That's the issue.
It's showing the process of educating oneself is not right, that there's something wrong there. Yeah. And so when there is the next pandemic. Go for it.
That there's no trust in the government. Like, if you want to make the argument like, I don't think that water fluoridation is worth it, or like, okay, maybe that might be an argument. Sure, you can have. But if the argument is we need to stop doing this because the government's doing it to lower your IQs and poison your children, it's like, okay, that's stupid. Even if your conclusion is correct, like you shouldn't be listened to. You're an insane person. Yeah.
What if he bans vaccines?
Or limits them in some way or makes them harder to.
And he could. He could absolutely ban vaccines if he wanted to. Then what? And that's his ambition for his entire life has been shitting on vaccines. Mm-hmm. You know how many lives are saved by vaccination in this country? So when Jared Polis says, oh yeah, 20-30% of drug prices we have, like, compared to other countries. Yeah, we agree there are problems in how we do this shit. And by the way, we're part of the movement that wants to increase protections and wants to increase government regulation of pharmaceuticals. You guys are the people who want to let everyone go crazy and give immense benefits to robber barons. But even if that were the case, how insane do you have to be if it causes, let's say, 5,000 more deaths a year because of the flu, or kills because of some virus that we've already eradicated or effectively eradicated with vaccination comes back? Then are you going to be counting coppers and counting 20%, 30% of the pharmaceutical price difference between one country and another? Don't miss the forest for the tree. This guy's fucking insane. And you embraced him, Governor, and you should not have a spot in any leadership position for the Democratic Party in this country until you disavow this opinion. And it's going to follow you wherever you go.
Yeah. RFK just wants safety tests and standards for vaccines. You're cool with them being exempt. How stupid do you have to be to think that there are no safety tests or standards for vaccines? I don't even know what to say to you, dude. Yeah. I want Pisco to say right now that he thinks that RFK will be able to ban vaccines. Why would he not be able to?
Why would he not be
Isn't
able
the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, is what decides how to okay or not okay drugs, and RFK is being nominated to be the head of the HHS, which is what, Health and Human Services, of which
Yep.
the FDA is an interior department of. So why would he not be able to do it?
Who said that?
Some guy in fucking YouTube chat.
Do you know the name?
Yeah, he's a common YouTube chat poster, actually. Travis Lamb.
Travis Lamb, you have the floor. Did he say anything else?
He'll type eventually. He types a lot. But I also have to leave pretty soon, so.
Okay, yeah. Well, thank you for the opportunity to vent. I really think this media thing is more important than a lot of people realize. Because if this is our leftist media, if this is supposed to be our strong left-wing people, here I'm talking about
they're
TYT.
not, right, Cenk? Is he, they're just like, they're populist, but like in the worst way. You
We're
know
in
what?
trouble.
Actually, somebody made a distinction that I didn't think about before, and I appreciated this. The Hank Green guy, I think it was him, or it was another video. He talked about like advertising as a populist and ruling as a populist. And I used to say that Bernie was the left-wing populist and kind of Trump was the right-wing populist. Even though Bernie advertised as a populist on the left, he didn't want to govern like one. Like Bernie was never saying that like, oh, we need to destroy the entire fucking government in order to...
Or we need to sick our fucking DOJ on Joe Manchin unless he votes the way we want him to.
Yeah. So Bernie definitely advertised like a populist and did that, but he wasn't like in favor of this total government destruction. Yeah.
So I don't know how this works, but pulled out the Chat GPT again regarding the vaccines. And it says that any move to ban a vaccine will require consultation with other agencies like the CDC and the NIH, which again, yes, could be put in charge by Trump sycophants.
Wait, CDC and the NIH, are these all subdivisions? Are these all interior departments of the HHS?
Is he putting him in the FDA or the HHS?
No, he's putting him as the head of the HHS.
The head. He's the head of all health and human services in America.
Yes.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay. Well, yes. So you're right there. But the other thing is, the point it makes is that it could be challenged in courts by manufacturers, stakeholders, or whatever. So I think that's a pretty good point, right? Like that, if Pfizer's vaccine gets banned, they could take it to court. And I mean, these are big, powerful companies. Do you think they're just
big, powerful companies? It's the Supreme Court that would ultimately make the decision.
Would it be?
So
Yeah.
So you're going to tell us, for example, right? Let's say that RFK says these vaccines, we feel that they're not safe, and we've done this policy assessment that it doesn't accord with, our risk calculus, and because COVID's not an issue anymore, we're going to ban the COVID vaccine. And it's not available. We're withdrawing authorization for it. What is the pathway that you think allows the Pfizer to or allows the vaccine to be in place and be sold, even though the administration is against it being sold?
I don't think it can be in the moment. I think they could probably do something immediately where, like, yes, at this moment, this vaccine can't be sold. But you're a lawyer. Can you not see a path where they're like, okay, cool, we're going to challenge that in court?
Yeah, I would
They could challenge
file a
it, but, like-
lawsuit that it's arbitrary and capricious, and that
Yeah.
it doesn't that they wrote the memo in the wrong way or
And
whatever.
all the congressmen that have taken their money.
What about
Congress? Congress has oversight of the HHS. So, if
They're
they go ahead-
MAGAs. They're all maggots.
They are maggots, but they're also paid by these fucking people. You think they're suddenly going to let that gravy train dry up?
Yes, they
If
don't care
they go
about that
against
money. What do you
administration,
think
they lose
matters
their-
more?
their
An
elections.
endorsement? Yeah, an endorsement from Donald Trump or $20,000 from some fucking Pfizer company or whatever. Like, yeah, obviously, your Donald Trump support is way more important there.
Well, I have to ask you, like, and who do you think is more important to the future of your political career?
That's actually something I'm curious about, because Trump is gone, and pending some dark, terrible scenario, Trump is gone. Trumpism, that's the question. Like, does Trumpism continue to infect the minds of every Republican, or is it like Dobby's a free elf finally after he's gone and we don't have to do his crazy shit?
I think there are some unique aspects of Trump as a candidate that give him appeal that other MAGA people don't get. But in terms of your question about whether or not MAGAism goes away when Trump is gone, I think the answer to that is no. I think it's just you lose an electoral advantage that Trump, the candidate, gets. But other than that, I don't think that there's no like, okay, that was fun, we're going back. Like, that's not happening.
Well, I mean, because
People have
for,
been waiting for that
years,
forever. That's never happening.
for years, no, don't get me wrong. There is a lot of the genie that's never going back in the bottle now. That started day one. That started in the primaries, but of 2016. But what my question is like, no one's worried about Trump, you know, the kingmaker after that. Like, maybe they are, because the people are still beholden to him. I don't know. He dies 2 years after office. Who becomes the next one? Like, who is the center point for MAGA after that? Like, the heir apparent.
Whoever the kingmakers that are now really in charge, that is Elon Musk, the tech crypto fascist billionaires that have supported his campaign. I think those people are going to have a lot of clout. Or maybe it's going to be some other populists with equally bad views. You know, I don't think it's going to be anyone worth like kind of any consideration by the American people. It's just going to be scumbags who are going to support their robber baron friends.
Bro, I hate this fucking Nate Silver dude. Oh my god.
What did he say? What did he say?
He posted a story saying, like, I discussed here how I voted for Harris despite feeling like Democrats indulged in a lot of bad behavior that voters were rational to publish. After the White House lying about the Hunter pardon, I'm not sure how much more I can tolerate. And then he tweeted under that, don't vote for any Democrat in 2028 who doesn't repudiate the pardon within 48 hours. It's just like I hate this guy. Oh my God, dude. I wish that Democrats could play by the standards that Republicans play by. It would just
Look
be...
at those standards.
It would just be
and this is coming from someone who
nice.
disagrees with the pardon. So
Yeah.
I disagree with the pardon, but that's the standard you're governing Democrats by.
That's such a... It's so insane. It's so insane.
And by the way, I do disagree with this, and I think the Democrats should condemn it. I 100% do. But if that's the double standard, we will never win. Unless, like, and I know I have this position on Garland that you guys disagree with, but I am not in favor of being such a cuck that you're in the media, in public, going to have such a double standard that's so easily abusable by the other side. That is just some cucked shit.
Like, look at this. Oh my fuck! I don't want to burn this bridge. I'm so sorry, Joe Walsh. I love you, and you've been a great guy to talk to. I don't hope this will never get back to him. But Joe Walsh quote tweets it. This is utter bullshit, just plain and wrong, and stupidly selfish. Shame on you, at POTUS. You've given Trump license now to dole out favors to his family and wealthy friends, and when he does, you've given his supporters the opportunity to say everyone does it. Oh my God.
He's already going to do that.
Yeah. No, what do you mean? No, shut up. Why did you say that? He already has done that. He already has done that. He already has done that.
Even people who are based like anti-MAGA people, they and even me just then, we are giving so much ground, even in how we frame things. And Steven's completely right there. Completely right. No, Joe's based on a lot of shit. He's anti-MAGA. I support all that stuff. But pretending that this is going to give more license to Trump, you're out of your fucking mind.
Jesus. Okay.
That's been done. Yeah, we gotta go.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get food set. Bro, this is clown world shit, right? This is clown. Or we're crazy. Maybe we'll realize we're crazy in like a few months.
One day.
Maybe. Do you think this is because this is actual clown world shit, right? Right now, this feels like clown world shit, like amateur hour. This is like, I said this the other day, it feels like StarCraft, like Silver League people coming to discuss politics. Like, that's what it feels like when I look at this shit sometimes. Like, now Trump has license to allow favors to his family and wealthy friends. Like, how can you say this with a straight face? Like he wasn't before? Like, wow, Doom 85, thanks for the 10 gifted subs. I don't know, bro.
Wait, are you going to be able to...
What?
Are you going to be able to persist when you see all the Republican reactions to it? And they're all like...
Oh, yeah, they're all going to be like indignant.
Oh my God, so corrupt. How could you pardon someone who did a crime? These pieces of shit.
I just want to... But they avoid all pushback. Good for them, because they're fucking pussies. They're absolute fucking pussies. But like, I just want to sit there and just read off. Like, tell me, what do you think about Donald Trump pardoning Paul Manafort? Do you think he should have done that? Why or why not? What about when he pardoned the Blackwater mercenaries in Iraq that were accused of murdering civilians there? What do you think that he should have pardoned them? Why or why not? What about Bannon? What about
Kushner.
Stone?
What about it?
What about Oh wait, was Kushner convicted of anything?
Charles Kushner, yeah. So Kushner's dad.
Charles Kushner.
Yeah, and he's doling out the ambassadorship to France.
Or Bannon, or Stone, or Flynn, or any of all the people that are close to him. Like, really? Seriously? Like,
the American government is for sale.
Yeah.
The American government is for sale, and these are the people who are leading the fire sale, and they're doling it out on the cheap. And people like Cenk Uygur, the populist left, and the double standards, I don't know what you would call Nate Silver, the fucking peanut gallery, are making excuses for it. Their framing is allowing for it, and it should be totally, totally unacceptable. I love you guys very much.
I love you. Be careful.
No, guys.
Wait, is that true? Did Lil Wayne and Kodak Black get pardons from Trump? I don't even know that. Is that actually true? And ASAP Rocky? Just absolutely based. Oh, man. I don't even know, dude. All right. Well, have fun. Peace out. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We're going to cappuccino, Be careful. Bye.